Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CGL Masters Tournament. We're about to enter into the finals. My name is Sam Talks. Joining me is 2Tryhard Ray, and our two teams vying for that spot is Brig CS going up against Aimless Esports. And Ray, we're about to take a look at the bracket, and I think an interesting story is about to be told here, especially when we look at what Brig CS went up against versus Aimless Esports.
Yeah, Brig CS having to fight and claw and just tear apart their way to the finals in a 5-map banger. Well, Aimless Esports weren't challenged very hard. Nice and easy, breezy 3-0. But sometimes, you know, the hardest metal is forged through tough victories like we saw with Brig CS. So they might just be rough and tough and ready to go.
Exactly. They're built diff right now. They've been through it. They know what they need to do. And obviously with all of the changes that came about in the new patch, right, getting used to that, maybe the meta just hasn't been working for them and they needed a little bit more time to cook. Well, they've had that time. We're about to find out whether or not they've cooked long enough. And obviously Aimless Esports has been had a really great run through in that previous bracket. But let's go ahead, Ray, and start to take a look at our rosters and see just who is going to be playing, starting off with Brig CS.
Yeah, so we got Laurer, Jax Guy, Mint, Kenku, and Proximus. So very strong lineup. They made the midseason grand finals for a reason, and keep in mind what is on the line for both of these teams. The winner will get a match point in their favor going into the final playoffs, and second place gets, I think it's like 2 map points in their favor for finals. So a lot on the line to get yourself qualified for the overall playoffs.
Absolutely, and from that, you can take a look here at Aimless Esports, their roster, see what exactly we're also going to be working with on their side, starting with Bamboozle, Ari, Saber, Anthemus, and Cav. So there you have it, our 2 teams looking towards being able to actually make that happen for themselves, getting that big W here tonight. And of course, what is a game of Overwatch without the maps to play it on? Well, we at the very least know our first map, starting off with, of course, Control, and that Control map being Ilios Ray.
Yeah, and for round 2 specifically, as we saw the bracket, this is round 2. The set map to start is Ilios, so no team picked this. They're forced on here, but after this, it will be loser's pick. But Ilios is going to be an interesting little opening into what we see from these teams. I think each map lends itself to different styles of compositions, and I think it's really going to show how flexible these teams can really be when it comes to Well, Lighthouse, and Ruins. They both have strengths for many different compositions to be played.
Yeah, and trying to figure out, once again, inside of this patch, all of the different kinds of compositions that you have, the tank buffs that have come through as well on top of it, and even some of the DPS as well as the support lineup, seeing how those are going to be changing along with it. So you take that, you bring it here into this game, and hopefully you're going to be able to find the success there. But it was like you said, we see very first map here is going to be Ilios, so starting off with Control into Hybrid, and of course the new game mode of Flashpoint. Very excited to see that when we get there, and if we get that far, push. So a lot of different things going on here tonight, a lot of different ways that our players are going to need to figure out what they can do and how they've been doing in this patch as well. On top of that, so many different things that could potentially be seen here, and that's what makes these new patches so exciting.
Could not agree more, especially a lot of the rumors are saying that Zarya is going to be the one that reigns supreme in this meta, but have the teams had enough time to make those adjustments and really work on those Zarya compositions? Well, it looks like for Aimless Esports, they definitely have, as they are starting out on that Zarya composition. It's no surprise in most Zarya-based compositions, Reaper is the hero that tends to be coupled together with the Zarya. So being able to get your Reaper in there aggressively, give him those bubbles, and just let him go to town on your on the other team. As Brig CS is taking it a little bit more traditional for what we've seen recently, going with the Lucio Baptiste with Bastion Sim. So they're going to look to get into that point and hold close. They just got to be very careful of giving that Zarya charge and letting them melt your Bastion.
Yeah, and we don't want to let that happen. Already going in, though, we see Reaper getting that nice new big and improved Zarya bubble, laying down the law with that turret form of this Bastion War, forcing out the immortality field from Anthemus so far. And look at how low Saber is getting, able to pop their own bubble just in time. But Jax guy is going to get the first blood onto Bamboozle, followed up with a beautiful javelin from Mint, stalling things out massively here, giving Brig CS that very first point. And it looks like indeed so, Ray, being forged in fire is good enough for them, but things can be turned around on his head with the loss of Mint.
Yeah, she's going to go down, and you're just going to have to completely back up and go watch point. Hopefully they can get a teleport out for them ready to go, and that's going to be the keys, then be able to hold point. But now Aimless Esports can just push it like they are.
Yeah, you lose out on your tank, you lose out on the ability to be able to hold. Mint is going to take her a little while to get there, and by the time it's happening, Lore's gone, Kenku's gone. Now you're gonna have to try and get out with the surviving members, but Aimless Esports is gonna do the same exact thing, just a little bit smarter and pulling back earlier.
Yeah, and unfortunate because of that loss of Mint and the aggression to go get the picks. Now they lose the point, and with the Symmetra-based composition, it is so much harder to try and re-engage and take the point back. So it just disrupts everything that Brig CS was trying to do here.
it looked like they had such a phenomenal start, right? But it was just a little bit greedy. That do see the teleporter go up onto the high ground, forcing Bamboozle, who got a little bamboozled themselves, to get out of there. The amplification matrix could stall things out for a little bit longer, and Laura is just gonna get a nice easy pick on the Cav. Now we're gonna see a counter amp matrix go up, and that's gonna be everything that they need damage-wise to get back onto the point and start getting the picks and start getting this point back. This is a phenomenal comeback here for Brig CS, especially after what just happened, Ray.
Yeah, and again, I think that was another mistake coming out from Aimless Esports' Lucio Cav. Completely just left the point. I think they were with their Reaper trying to help them go gain an advantage onto one of the players that was left behind, but you aren't able to do that and you lose your Lucio because of it. So then Brig CS just gets an easy opportunity to push in, and now they have 4 ultimates coming into this fight. It's looking a little bit dangerous for Aimless, but they're going to have this Graviton Surge to work with.
And hopefully this Graviton Surge is going to be good enough. Laura's going to try and stop it with an artillery strike, and up comes the photon barrier, but right in their face. What? Right in the throes of death, Laura is still going to get their revenge on Ari. Now it's all dancing around this photon barrier, waiting for it to go down. Of course, Mint does have this Terror Surge. They are the Terror. They're going to bring them in. The sound barrier is going to be used to save the team through it, but throwing them and helicoptering them off the edge. Saber is still going to try and survive it out, but the immortality field is going to be good enough for the team to find that sustainability they need. And we see the loss of Bamboozle is going to make things even more difficult. They had that tactical visor, and now Saber showing us that gravity's still a potent force, especially from that boot with proxies.
And that's the issue with this competition from Brig CS, right? So initially you're thinking this Bastion has to go because he just has so much upfront damage. And I do believe that is the right plan, is trying to get rid of this Bastion and all that damage off the field. But then you got to think about it. You're focusing on this Bastion. And in the meantime, this Symmetra is just building up that beam charge and melting your team. So there's 2 red target threats you have to get off this field. And they get rid of the Bastion. But in the meantime, as I mentioned, the Symmetra is just able to melt your team.
Absolutely. Now, we did lose a player here, so we do ask everyone to be a little bit patient. Lore, unfortunately, turns out that Bastion may have been a little too heated for them, and it blew up their PC. So we're just going to be waiting here for a second for them to get back in. Until that point, though, Ray, things were looking really good here for Brig CS. I mean, 80% on the board before the Lore exited. And I guess the good news here for Lore is at the very least they were able to use their ultimate before disconnecting.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, but Brig CS, all they're going to have is amplification matrix while Aimless Esports gets to come in with a Death Blossom and a tactical visor. This has to be Aimless's fight. Like, it's just good. I mean, obviously they lose if they don't get this, but 2 ultimate advantage. You must win this fight.
And Laura's not going to waste any time. All right, here it is. Bamboozle starting us off with that tactical visor down on the ground. The immortality field needing to come up. It's going to be just good enough. And Mint, she seems unstoppable right now. And is going to push off Anthemus with the help of Proximus. Unreal the way that Brig CS is playing inside of this lighthouse. It really has become their domain. And what a snipe! I've never seen that. Jax guy a million miles away, but still landing shots like that on Symmetra. Brig CS taking this first round 100-53.
And unfortunately for Aimless Esports, Ari the Reaper goes down in that fight with the Death's Blossom in your pocket. That was pretty much worst case scenario for Aimless Esports, and because of that, Brig CS is able to easily win that first point. However, Sam, my question is, what changes are Brig CS going to make going forward? Because yeah, that Symmetra and Bastion worked pretty well on Lighthouse, but for the rest of these 2 submaps, you're not going to be able to get away playing the cheese like that. Looks like they're going to go with the Sojourn with the Torbjorn. I mean, Torbjorn, it's awesome to see the Swedish man back in action. Is that going to be enough though? The turret can bother Ari on this Pharah quite a lot.
Swedish meatball time, Ray. Hopefully that turret is going to be able to do the work. They need to keep their heads intact. Bamboozle already firing off a couple of shots here, but no one to be found just yet. Jax is having fun playing around with that, and Ari has gotten rid of the nuisance with that turret, just sniping and taking pot shots in the air as best they can. It's going to be full-on approach. Try to get them off the ground ASAP, but Bamboozle is not going to leave them alive for too much longer, and already it's looking like it's a back and forth. But Saber falls, no more tank. Bamboozle is still, my word, it's 3 a triple, the back-to-back. And Jax still seeming inside of death and going to get a kill of their own, but the point is going to go to Brig CS.
But Bamboozle finds the pick onto her, so
Unreal.
this might be a very quick recapture.
Unreal, and this is just going to be Laura by themselves. Sojourn is powerful, but it becomes so difficult to stand up to Ari on this. What a snipe. Saber showing us these javelins. I mean, these javelins tonight, Ray, have been unreal.
And that's going to be the one issue that Brig CS faces, Sam, is they are playing a composition where they have no ability to go after Bamboozle. So we're going to have Laura go over to the Widow to try and out-duel Bamboozle. But, I mean, it's just going to really rely on this Widow duel, and whoever wins it is probably going to win the team fight for their team.
The Widowmaker v. Widowmaker, always a scary proposition when we talk about it on maps. Now we're going to see if Laura can stand up. At the very least, they're going to bother Ari out for the moment, seeing maybe take on Saber for just a smidge. Now it's time to identify and figure out just where exactly this Widow is. Started getting a couple of pot shots, and Proximus is lucky to be able to survive with their life. Going up, we have the infrared sight. They are going to try and go up against the Widowmaker duel here. It's Kinku realizing and seeing. Still, the damage is being done. Laura now with two of their own. These Widowmakers are scary. Up in the air, Laura wasn't able to stand up to Bamboozle, but it's still going to be good enough. Brig CS on the ground, getting rid of the rest of them. Bamboozle can only do so much by themselves. And now, point back before Aimless losing it at 46%.
It's the old saying, anything you can do, I can do better, Laura, getting on that Widowmaker. And I mentioned it was going to be a battle of the Widowmaker 1v1, but it's not necessarily trying to kill the enemy Widow. It's as Widowmaker, you finding the picks first before the enemy Widowmaker does, and that's exactly what Laura did. They ended up losing their life, but they found 2 picks. Now you get to come into this next fight, and Aimless is going to have to be careful because the floor is going to be lava.
Gosh, speaking of lava, Ari, though, sailing through the sky with the greatest of ease. Now comes in the rocket barrage. No need to worry about that. Laura is going to turn it right back into their face, though. Justice has been denied. Now, it's the Widowmaker v. Widowmaker. They've identified each other. Bamboozled was bamboozled for a second there, Ray. He went down to the ground. They're like, huh? The ground? How'd I get here? Brig CS is feeling unstoppable.
And they're just continuing to find these late stagger picks, and it's just making the bleed for Aimless Esports that much worse. Cav's gonna have the Valkyrie to come into this next fight, but I mean, it's just gonna give your team sustain. Brig CS is gonna have so much damage with this amp matrix, and they can match the sustain with the sound barrier. They are looking primed as we hit into final fight territory.
Like you said, it's Final Fight territory. Up comes the amplification matrix. They're looking to take on Ari. Look at how much the damage they've taken. Needed to come down to the ground to find safety. And Saber is not going to find any safety from Laura, who's just... Oh my God, Ray! 3 headshots in a row! Unstoppable! This Widowmaker is. It's just a Laura world, and we're all living inside of it! They are not done yet! They're looking to close it out here for Brig CS. And what a way to go about doing it. Overtime is going to take away, and it's looking like first map going to Brig CS.
That was ridiculous. And what was that? 4 final blows for Laura in that final fight to seal the deal. Absolutely ridiculous. Brig CS, as we talked about, even though they were in that 5-mapper series, we talked about that the toughest of iron gets forged through long and hard battles, and I think we're seeing the toughness of Brig CS right out the gate, and we're seeing a lot of flexibility, especially out of these DPS. I questioned, hey, yeah, you pulled out the cheese, you won that map with the Bash and Sim. Could you pull out other DPS and get the job done? Well, they proved themselves right, playing that Swedish meatball and matching that Widow after they put on a performance on the first attack. They go, you know what? I'm going to come right at you with this Widow. And they above and beyond. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's it. The scary thing that we've seen from Brig CS, even though they get the point, they lose it really quickly, but when they get it back, they have that firm iron clasp on it that they're never going to let go of. And like you said, it can be attributed to their DPS, Laura and Jax guy, especially with what we saw out of Laura. The Widowmaker gameplay, you think about that, right? You think from playing a Bastion, a pretty... I wouldn't say simplistic hero, but a hero that has a lot of forgiveness with it. Then you go to a skill ceiling like Widowmaker with a high skill ceiling. Landing headshots one after another really goes to show you what Laura is capable of. And obviously what Brig CS is capable of on top of that. A clean 2-0 for this team, and something that I think, like we were saying earlier, you can only imagine what would have happened in that game previously that they were up against with Kabakayo, where that went 3-2. This team feels pretty unstoppable right now, Ray.
Couldn't agree more. The good thing for Aimless Esports is they get to take it to a map that they feel extremely comfortable in. As we mentioned, it is loser picks, and we do have that map pick coming in, and it's no surprise. We're going to London. It's King's Row time, baby.
Yeah, it's King's Row, and I feel like for what we saw out of Aimless Esports, a very good map, right? They enjoyed the Zarya gameplay we saw on the first round, and they also know how to play Orisa. So going on to this sort of brawl-centric, the close quarter streets, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the Zarya coming back out from Aimless. This is going to be a really good map for them to be to work around having this tank who needs to get into the face of the enemy. And on top of that, if we see that Reaper, having that extra bubble, that bigger bubble, giving them more of that charge.
Yeah, a lot of corridors that really give advantage to those bubbles where it's like, I mean, unless you're smart and just don't shoot the bubbles, there's not much else you can shoot. Especially with the size now, it's going to block half that corridor. But the good thing for Brig CS is they were favoring that Orisa style rush composition with the Lucio. I think they're going to be able to have great success with that on this map as well. This has been my question coming into this new meta. If we see two teams of equal skill and one team's playing Zarya and one team's playing Orisa, I've heard a lot of rumors. It feels like Orisa might be dead at the highest levels of play. I'm not so sure. So this might give us that answer depending on what we see from these teams coming out very shortly. And it looks like for the defense for Brig CS, it's no surprise here. They're keeping that Lucio Baptiste and they're keeping Jaxguy on that Torb. They're going to have Laura go over to that Bastion. But one thing I'm excited about, Sam, as a Reinhardt player myself, is the German man coming into the forefront. This is giving very much so London Spitfire vibes.
Reinhardt! We always love seeing it. The German man himself coming out into the field. I, as a Reinhardt player myself, so Mint maybe showing us that there's still signs of life inside of this tank, and especially with what we have out of the DPS from Brig CS, he's still gonna have to be very scared of Lore on that Bastion. But Aimless Esports looking to make this quick, make this fast, and execute, especially with this Hanzo from Ahri.
The one issue I see for this Reinhardt composition for Brig CS is if you allow the Zarya to get, looks like they were checking. Okay, let's go. They're matching the Reinhardt, baby. We got a Reinhardt v Reinhardt. Now I say for Aimless, okay, they're matching the Bastions. I was going to say Brig CS is playing the Bastions so they have more shield break, but now we get double Bastions. The key is, can Jaxguy be able to use all that damage he has up front to outweigh the advantages that Ahri has with the walls?
Yeah, we're already gonna have to be careful though. Push back in the immortality field used. Jaxguy on the other side. What are these DP? What are they feeding them? It's just the Swedish meatball rolling right through and eating everyone on Aimless Esports.
It is exactly as I said, Sam. Could Jaxguy find the value that you get with all that damage from the overload ability with the Torbjorn to outweigh the utility of the wall from Ahri? And in that first fight, we saw it come through crystal clear. We're gonna have to see that continue to happen as we're still ultless across the board.
Jaxguy just quite literally walked in there and decimated Aimless. They're going to look to make that happen again, but Mint is going to go ahead, start swinging. They're going to keep an eye on Jaxguy, not letting him get away with too much, but already Saber has gone down. Mint needs to back up, just get a little bit of healing, but the rest of Brig CS is just going to start blasting. Stuck inside of that ice block. Ahri, once it goes away, needs to get out of there quick, and they are going to be able to do that.
As we're going to get a battle of the amplification matrices coming into this fight. The question is, are we going to get any value out of this Bastion? Oh, we do!
Already, it's still scary. Trying to get away from the other side of that wall. You don't see that very often, but they need to get ahead of the amplification matrix. Build up towards the Earth Shatter. Mint might be looking to make it happen right here. They're just going to start swinging, going for the fences. They don't need no stinking Earth Shatter right now because it's just clean pick'ems for Brig CS.
And they're able to win that fight, only committing a single ultimate, and they got the amp matrix out.
And he's already at 40% rate.
Yeah, they're in such a good spot right now. So now you're going to be able to come in this fight. You can use your Bastion to break the shield, and then you get 3 shatter.
Just got to go through it quick. Both of these teams have shatters. This match, this team fight could be determined on which Reinhardt is going to be better. Go right through it on top of it. Now we have the Blizzard to get that point back. It's a pick for a pick, though, a support for a support. One shield broken, and now that's going to be where it comes back, though. Saber just a little bit too hot on the toes, and now without their tank, a return shatter from Mint. Beautiful recovery here from Brig CS.
That was just great patience. Knowing that Blizzard is up, we have this immortality field, but it's not going to last that long. We need to get around the corner, then they're able to get rid of the enemy Reinhardt because of the molten core and free shatters for days. And now they're going to have this sound barrier to sustain through this bastion ult that they're going to have, as we see Ari now going over to the Echo, and that's just going to be more shield break available for Aimless Esports onto Mint shield.
Well, the time is starting to run out. We're now at just under 40 seconds with a little bit of the ticks on the Chevron, giving up a little bit more space here. Brig CS now going back in with that sound barrier. On top of it, the artillery strike, drawing out Cav sound barrier, but Mint looking at the wrong place. Bamboozle getting away with 2 kills of their own, and point A being given up. Brig CS finally falls.
To me, it felt like Mint got a little too aggressive. Probably should have held the shield up just a little bit more in that fight, and you might have had a chance to be able to sustain. But again, very impressive hold coming out from Brig CS. I mean, you're only going to have 2.5 minutes to get this through point B, which means Aimless Esports cannot mess around here. They're going to have to use this amp matrix aggressively and get a lot of distance on this card.
This is the name of the game. At the very least, it's through the archway, about to hit up the bookstore, see if there's anything good on the shelves. And now we're going to see the amp matrix being popped to make sure they can actually get through to the other side of that pretty much intact. So a lot of pain has been taken away from Aimless Esports and still has the Earth Shatter. Mint on the other side, though, completely leaves their team open to that Earth Shatter coming back in. And now the Immortality Field has been used, but Brig CS, oh no! Mint used the Earth Shatter of their own, but wasn't able to land it, wasn't able to stick it, fell too quickly. Now this is going to be golden for Aimless Esports.
This is, and look at all the distance they got. They're already rounding the final corner. Brig CS is going to get one more opportunity to try and contest this card, and the Molten Core comes out.
Molten Core, Jack's guys just going all in, all or nothing. And unfortunately, it came out nothing for them. Aimless Esports is still going to be pushing, and this seems like a much better go-around for them than what we saw on point A.
That it was, you're going to get one final opportunity from Brig CS, but it is going to be all but nothing with Mint going down. And that's the kind of point B attack you needed from Aimless. As I mentioned, they did not have a lot of time, but they made the best of it. Pretty much ran that point with very little contest, using those ultimates extremely aggressive. And now they're going to have 3 ultimates to come in this next fight, as Briggs is still reeling. They don't have much to work with. Aimless is in a really good spot.
Aimless was in a really good spot until Brig CS came out of that spawn room and started looking for blood. It's going to be Saber charging out to the safety of their team and that payload. The payload is still moving, but will be stopped here relatively quickly on this point. Getting some more information, we have Aimless Esports with those 3 ultimates, Ray.
Yeah, and we're going to have this duplicate online for Ari. My question is, what is the target going to be? Do you go with an enemy Reinhardt and try and build it to some Earth Shatters?
You saw taking a look inside of that. Now we have a couple more of that artillery out on the field. Proximus is going to be taken down, and even though Saber was inside of the room fighting it off with Mint, Mint is going to be the one to go down. Now Ari's duplicating onto Reinhardt, and it's just easy. One for them all with that Earth Shatter. Aimless Esports, once they got this payload going, Ray, it has not stopped.
That it hasn't. You're going to get one more chance for Brig CS. They're going to have a couple ultimates to work with.
Now up in the air, we have, again, these Earth Shatters are just devastating for Brig CS. Boop right off the side. Kinku is going to go down. Mint is going to try and use the Earth Shatter of their own. Lore, though, this might be just exactly what they needed. The DPS duel has saved the day at 1.88 meters, Ray.
Wow, just when you thought it was all but over, in come the heroes, the DPS, and I'm sure a lot of people rolling their eyes. Stop giving love to the DPS. Okay, they do a lot for their team, and we just saw them
look what they just did.
Carry. As we see Brig CS, Mint is now going over to the Ramatra. Excuse me. And I like this change because you're going to be able to use this this form to be able to punch through the Rhine Shield.
Yeah, there's Nemesis right on top of it, and then use the Molten Core. A quick snipe from Saber, however, is going to break apart Lore. They just couldn't handle all of the pressure. Someone's going to be able to touch his 0.78 meters, just a little bit more onto this payload, and now Mint is going to go and start throwing fists, throwing punches, and throwing Aimless Esports back to the spawn room.
It's all coming down to this final fight. We saw Kenku moving over to the Ana, and the Antinade came through in a big way in that fight. Bamboozle's now going over to the Soldier 76. We don't have any ultimates from either of these teams, so it's just going to be just classic team play. Who can find this opening pick to set the team up for either a capture or a hold?
No, oh my gosh! Saber right out of here! Proximus! We haven't been giving enough love to this Lucio. They have been unreal in these boobs. There's gonna be one pick from Bamboozle, though. Potentially another from Ari. However, Mint is the one who's still standing. And as long as this tank is still here, as long as they're still breathing, this point is gonna be held. Lore gonna just go ahead, pop the ult, blow them up, and they're giving the nano boost on top of that. There was nothing that Aimless Esports could do. So very close, right? Under 1 meter was all they needed, but Brig CS clenched their teeth and said no.
You have no idea, Sam, as you're calling those fights, I'm like watching the point. I'm like, no, Briggs, touch the point. I was like freaking out, but they clutched up, and now they have that win condition to go up 2-0. Just complete the map. I mean, Kings Row, it's not one of those maps where you're worried about completing. Like, if I think of a map that's really hard to complete, I'm thinking like Dorado. I'm thinking Havana. A lot of the escort maps are pretty difficult to finish all the way. These hybrids, very, very good opportunity for Brig CS to go up to 0 and just make a huge statement.
What a statement they've been making, right? And like what you were saying with that previous final fight, right? There were so many times that it looked like Brig CS was about to get booped off, and you can tell Aimless were doing everything they could to actually get them off. Cav booping them away, but Brig CS was just so firm and staying on that point. And getting there just in the nick of time. I mean, if Proximus had been, like literally a second late, that point would have been taken over. Brig CS seeming like they know what they want to do, and maybe, yeah, that 3-2 game they had in the first round was just what they needed to forge themselves through the fire and flames. Gates have opened. Let's see if they can close it out here on Kings Row.
As we're going to have to see how now Mint is just going to commit to the Ramatra. I definitely think Saber in general was getting a lot more value out of those Earth Shatters, but I like the Ramatra pick, as I mentioned. You're just able to put a lot of damage on the Reinhardt, keep the Nemesis forward, but you've lost the Proximus.
Yeah, you've lost Proximus, and now things are looking quite dire, being pushed back and away. Brig CS, what is Jax Guy doing? Hello, Lore, though. One railgun shot, maybe all they needed. Ari is gone. But Jax Guy couldn't get out in time, and that could potentially give Aimless Esports their way back into this round. Brig CS, though, is still going to fight it out. Lore on this high ground. But I got that railgun charge. The anti-nade has been used. The immortality field is going to save the team here through those railgun shots. But another big one being built up. 35 HP is all Lore has left to work with. Mint under so much pressure and damage cannot stand through it. Saber being taken out at the last moment, but Brig CS, they're losing and still hemorrhaging members of their own.
Yeah, the problem is if you can just get out and reset either down their Reinhardt, so you have a big opportunity, especially with this nano boost and overclock online, to try and get this point. Brig CS, this is their window of opportunity.
This is their window of opportunity, but it may have just closed on them. It does it in now. The overclock has been activated, muscling their way in. Mint by themselves just seems like they needed the Nemesis form, and it's all falling apart here for Aimless Esports. Brig CS and a much better time bank are going to be able to take point A.
That was not just needing the Nemesis for. That nano was crucial from Kenku onto Mint to be able to find those kills that much quicker. And Brig CS, as you mentioned, they're going to have a bigger time bank, but can they have as impressive as a point B attack as Aimless Esports does? That's going to be tough, especially since Aimless was just smart. They're just going to get a full recontest, and they're going to be able to take a fight at the archways here with a lot of ultimates in their bank.
This is what we saw that Brig CS didn't have, the opportunity to be able to fight it here. So Aimless Esports regrouped, recovered. Ari already on this duplicate with the Ramatra, trying to build up towards that ultimate of their own, but it's just not going to be happening, being denied and brought out of their duplication. Aimless Esports going to give up a little bit of ground to try and take more. Here, going right in on top of it. The Earth Shatter is clean. The Earth Shatter is devastating. And Aimless Esports is quaking their way through Brig CS lineup.
Again, Saber is getting so much value out of those shatters. If you just force the shield out of Mint, then you can either push forward past the shield or break the shield and shatter, but it just gives yourself that key advantage. Okay, you have nothing to block this shatter now. I can go in there and get away with bloody murder. And now they're going to have these support ultimates. Cav can sustain them, and Anthemus gives them that extra needed damage. I mean, a fire strike through a window, that is deadly if you're a DPS.
Taking a look at the ultimates here on the board. Aimless Esports has a lot in their tool bank. Need to go down to the ground. Ari just getting out in the nick of time. Mint in their backline does have this annihilation, but still has to fight it out here with Saber. He's taking a lot of damage of their own, but Ari's going to lose out in the duel against Lord. Now given this overclock, they see everything in their eyes. The annihilation 2 to go and pair up with it. It's just Cav trying to get away, but this Lucio can only do so much by themselves. And down they fall. Now, finally, Brig CS gets a chance to push this payload forward. Aimless Esports, though, Ray, still has a lot of time to recover.
Yeah, but that's the value of being able to get a full regroup fight at the archway. It is so tough to push through, especially when you're going up against a brawl-style composition. The good thing is they are going to get it around the bookstore corner, which is the second strongest position to hold. So they're really only going to have to win one more team fight to get this across the board. And they got 3 ultimates to use here, and Aimless Esports is out of them.
Out of them, Bamboozle, the one closest to getting that artillery online, but is it gonna be good enough? We're gonna see now inside of this turret form try to push back Brig CS, respecting this. Hit with the anti-nade. Saber needs to get out, but Kinku stuck on the stairs. That's just free targets for Bamboozle to land one. Massive pick here for Aimless Esports and Brig CS. Now they don't have that nano boost. They're gonna try and fight it out still using this molten core, maybe able to gain some precious ground and find some purchase of their own, but Aimless Esports is strong in the ways that they're gonna fight through this.
And you don't really have a Rhine Shield to work with right now, so an anti-nade could be coming their way to set up a quick and precise team fight win for Brig CS. I'm looking at Kenku in this next fight.
Mint now being given that nano boost. We're skipping through a little bit here. Apologies for that, but yeah, the Nemesis form on top of that nano boost is just unstoppable. It feels like Mint, when they're giving it, it is a force of nature to be reckoned with.
That it is, and that is going to be the point, Cat, for Aimless Esports. I mean, for Brig CS. Aimless Esports looking to just take a full regroup. They're going to have, just over 2.5 minutes to try and get this all the way to the end. You're going to have a overclock plus an annihilation to work with here, which could be devastating. You know, getting that tickle damage from the annihilation plus the overclock being able to finish people off.
Oh my word! Laura, what a headshot! Ari already gone! Now Saber! They're gonna try and match it out with the Ramatra v Ramatra, but Mint is not having any of this! They're gonna start annihilating! It's a Mint game, and they are in charge!
Yeah, you didn't even have to use the overclock because Laura found that quick and early pick on to Ari. They will have a chance to make up for that mistake. They're gonna have the duplicate online. And I think the Ramatra might be a mistake. It takes too long to charge that ultimate.
And we're looking at the pearly gates of victory, the overclock from Laura being used, but the heads are still going to be safe for Aimless Esports. A quick duplicate from Ari, and now they're going to continue this push forward using the sound barrier. But Ray, what a way to do it. They wanted to try and end out this fight, but now it looks like it might turn around on his head with Saber. Slept one reel from Kinku. Min needs to get away with their life, but they're just not going to be able to do it. The amplification matrix came up. Aimless Esports saw an opportunity. Both of these teams without a tank now.
Brig CS just needs to find one clean, concise team fight, and I see the win condition, Sam. It is once again the nano onto Mint. Every time it's happened, they have struck gold.
Laura?
What?
Laura was right up on the payload. They wanted to try and fight it out, maybe be able to get a pick, but that's going to be rough for Brig CS. They've lost their sojourn, and now they need to go all the way back, giving up so much space.
Yeah, that's devastating. I'm not sure what the call was there, but Brig CS are going to have quite an ultimate advantage. Sound barrier, nano. The floor is going to be lava. This is a lot to overcome for Aimless.
All right, it's time to go in quick and fast. The Nemesis has been given, and so has the Nano Mint, though, having some difficulties in actually getting any of these kills now in your backline. It's just not going to be happening, though. Aimless Esports is denying the Nano Nemesis, they're denying the Molten Core, and they're denying Brig CS.
That was the first time they finally were able to stop that Nano Nemesis form from finding its value, and they were just playing split and far away. You weren't able to get in a position where Mint could find those kills. Very well played for Aimless Esports, as now they're going to have Annihilation of their own, but Proximus has the perfect counter, a sound barrier.
All right, this is it for Brig CS. It is a now or never moment. That payload needs to get to the golden gates or it is over. And Mint is already in such a dangerous moment. Now we're seeing another duplication, another Ramatra here. 3 of them, but 2 for Aimless Esports. Ripped out of it, though. Now Laura with this overclock. On top of that, we have the sound barrier from Proximus. But Saber, emboldened and juiced up with this annihilation, is tearing through Brig CS. Mint is going to try and match pound for pound, but it's not gonna happen. Not with Cav throwing out a sound barrier of their own. Now by themselves, Mint is not gonna be able to survive, and neither is Brig CS. Aimless Esports taking map 2.
There we go, baby. A 1-1 series in the grand finals for the mid-season playoffs. It would have been very bad for Aimless Esports to go down 2-0 in a first 2-3. So getting this victory was crucial, and it was their map pick. So it is nice to see them coming through in the clutch. So very excited to see where this series goes from here. We will be going to Flashpoint next, and it's going to be Brig CS choice, but everyone take a breath. That was a crazy map. We're going to go to a quick break. Make sure you grab a snack, grab a drink, because you do not want to miss as this series progresses to see who wins the NA Masters Grand Finals.
And we hope you've picked your jaw up off of the ground after that insane Kings Row matchup between Brig CS and Aimless Esports. And before we go any further, we do have little substitution coming in for Brig's CS. We are losing out on Jax, bringing in Maze. So a little DPS change here, which is interesting, Ray, especially with what we've been seeing from Jax guy.
Yeah, I thought he was very good on the Torbjorn, but we are heading into Flashpoint. It was Brig CS's choice. They're taking us to Suravasa. I think especially with the fast-paced, high-action, high-octane play you get on Flashpoint specifically, maybe Maze is kind of like that ability to where they can play 2 dive DPS with, you know, whether it's a Doomfist, whether if it's a Diva, but being able to just play super fast-paced because as you mentioned, Jack was mostly playing that Torbjorn, which is a little bit more of a slower paced style hero.
Yeah, it relies on being able to set yourself up, right? Being able to play around something. And with Flashpoint needing to go from place to place to place to place, it becomes really difficult. And on top of that, more of the open nature, right, of the Flashpoints themselves. Being able to have something like a Tracer zipping into the backline of the enemy team could give you that extra bit of a leg up here. And maybe too, on top of that, Brig CS is trying to figure out what happened there on Kings Row. They got really close, Ray. They were able to heroically hold off Aimless Esports at just under a meter from being able to actually take that point. But then we look at what happened to them on their approach towards point C and how they faltered. So maybe a little bit of retooling and tightening of the screws were needed.
Yeah, for sure. As you know, Suravasa, I'm very excited. I mean, I've been casting Flashpoint for a few days now, and all I've gotten is Suravasa. I definitely think it's the better Flashpoint map. It's prettier, but I want some new junk. I want some new junk city love, man. But that's all right. That's all right. India's still great, so can't wait to see where these teams are going to go. As we all know, that battle for the market is where it all starts, and after that, it's all RNG. The first match I casted, the RNG was in the favor of the team who won the first point. But then the second go around, the team who lost it had a huge advantage. It was able to take the second point because of that. So, I mean, I'd be praying to the RNG gods if I were these teams.
And then there's also, right, the idea of Flashpoint when it comes to these type of game modes. Okay, one team is already about to capture the point. We're in a really rough position. We're back at spawn. Let's go ahead. We don't need to worry about fighting it out here. Let's go and set ourselves up on the next one so we can start gaining that point, getting the percentage there on the board for ourselves, and being able to, at the very least, set up and start fighting it out.
As we now get you guys loaded into Suravasa, getting a little overview of that first point that is market and the beautiful ambiance that India gives us on this map. Again, my question is, we haven't really seen any kind of dive style, fast paced compositions from either of these teams. So I mean, we've seen Junker Queen also be a very viable composition on this map. So maybe teams elect to go with that as we see Aimless Esports doing exactly that for Brig CS. They are going to continue to stick with this Orisa composition, but their Maze is coming in to play that Genji. So the ability, especially with those dashes, being able to try and finish off kills very quickly. But I'm excited for once to see a Genji duel. We don't get that very often in Overwatch anymore, so I'm all for it.
I'm all for it too, right? The battle of the Dragon Blades. Which one is going to come out superior? Which one is feeling a little sharper? Now, this is also going to be interesting between our other two DPS, Bamboozle and Lore. One electing to continue with that Bastion and Lore on that Sojourn. So, who's going to come out on top between that battle? That's also going to be an interesting question. And then the tank choices here. Is Saber going to come and show us what this Junker Queen can do? But already it's looking like Lore is going to start things off with a quick pick onto Bamboozle right into the backline, though. Mentis trying to capitalize and get another pick out here, or at the very least push Aimless Esports away and start working towards getting this point for themselves. Already to stall things out for a little bit longer, but only so much that they can do.
That's going to be the battle, as you mentioned, between that Sojourn and that Bastion. If you can wait out that turret form, you get a lot of value out of those rail shots coming out from the Sojourn. We saw that Thor getting the quick and early pick, as we're just seeing cleanup coming out for Brig's CS. And this is the other big question for me when it comes to these Flashpoint maps. It ticks faster when you have 3 people sitting on the point, but it's always to your advantage to play up and play aggressive. So do these teams elect to keep people on the point, or are they going to look to play up on these chokes? It looks like they're just going to elect to play closer to the point as they're trying to just play back, probably wait out that turret form from the Bastion.
Yeah, and the beautiful disruptor shot is going to get a little bit more damage out here. Min, however, couldn't stand up to Bamboozle's turret form, and now we're still seeing a battle on the high ground. Laura is doing desperately whatever they can to try and turn things back around. The picks are still coming in favor of Brig CS, even without Mint here to support them and give them that extra bit of pressure from being the tank. It seems like Brig CS doesn't care.
It's because they got that early pick onto Anthemus because of the deflect coming out from Maze. Maze already showing up, coming off the bench and coming in big time on this. Could you just look at this? Maze already has Blade. Ari's 50%. That is ridiculous as we now head over to Gardens. Saber's now going to go over to the Zarya with the Reaper. So if you are Mint, you have to be very careful with these Orisa cooldowns to try and disrupt as much damage as you can.
And now it's become a battle of the point before it even begins to open here, right? Brig CS have set themselves up on here. Aimless Esports needs to try and get them out. Maze, though, ready to start showing us what this Blade is capable of. Anthemus is going to be cut down just like that. And now turning our attention over to the Soldier 76. There was nothing Aimless could do. It felt just like a hot knife through butter.
And that's one ult, one team fight win is now they're going to get the percentage ticking up in their favor because of Aimless Esports completely swapping up compositions. They're relying solely on the support ultimates to try and carry them through this next fight, while Brig CS has got 4 to be able to continue to hold here. The name of the game for Brig CS is going to be ult rotation.
Does it in now, or are you going to throw things out here? Aimless is just going to go ahead, use the amp, use the sound barrier, but Brig CS is able to answer with a sound barrier of their own. It's just Mint wasn't able to stand up to it. However, Ari does fall. Maybe this amplification matrix could give Brig CS what they need, but instead it's going to be nothing that they can get anything out of. Aimless Esports finally being able to get control of this flashpoint.
And that's the power of Zarya with her new buffs, especially going against an Orisa. If you allow this Zarya Saber to get high charge, your Javelin Spin cannot eat that primary fire. And even with the Fortify, Zarya just melts Orisa. So Brig CS gonna have to be very careful, not allow Saber to get too much high charge, as they already almost have this Graviton Surge, but Mint gets to come in this fight with the Terra Surge. You just gotta make sure you get those bubbles out of the Zarya first.
We're going to see if they're going to be able to do just that. Man, to see how much damage they're taking. It's just going to go right in with the Terra Surge. Most of Aimless Esports were able to get out. Ari, just a little smidge of survival in the Immortality field is beautiful, and so is his Tactical Visor. The aimbot has been activated, and they are angry.
Bamboozles, like I bamboozled you guys. We got the advantage, and I don't think I don't think Brig CS is going to be able to come back and touch in this fight. So what a clap back coming from Aimless Esports, as Brig CS is just going to look to fight another day and figure out where this next point is going to be. And it looks like it's going to be Ruins. So definitely an advantage coming for Brig CS. They're going to be able to get to this point and get into a very good defensive position. And Maze is going to have this Blade to work with.
And already we're sitting at a 1-1 here on this flashpoint. Both teams really going all out in the fight. Brig CS, even though they got there first and won out in the first team fight, Aimless Esports were able to come back with this compositional switch and really turn things on its head. Now, like you said, we're looking at the Maze Dragon Blade. Can they make the same magic happen here again? Or is Aimless Esports going to work around it and just get rid of the Genji? Maze is separated from the rest of the team. Brig CS has to come in there to make sure that they can survive, but Mint is not going to be able to say the same thing for themselves. It's feeling like Aimless Esports in this Zarya composition is feeling so confident in how they're taking these fights, Ray.
Yeah, Maze got so low in that initial fight because of Saber's high charge. You couldn't commit to the blade, and then the rest of your team goes down because of that. So Brig CS, they're gonna have to be, as we see, Mint is now like, all right, we'll match the Zarya. I get it, she's strong, and I think that's going to be a big buff, especially being able to give Maze a bubble with this blade.
Right into their backline. Ari wanted to see if maybe they could deal a little bit of extra damage, and now the blade has been used, but the sound barrier is just too much for this blade to hack through anything, and Saber, seeing a free Genji just like that, is going to get rid of them. Mint can't survive through the sheer amount of damage that Saber is outputting at this full 100% charge, and now they're just chewing through the rest of Brig CS.
Again, Saber on the Zarya is just ripping through and melting every single player on Brig CS. I feel like at this point, the Genji is not finding the value you need to find. You're not getting a whole lot of value, especially with the Zarya primary fire, just constantly melting you and keeping you low. Brig CS is going to have 3 ultimates to come into this next side, but with the Graviton Surge looming, they got to be careful.
They do have to be careful. It's already the sound barrier, and maybe they don't need to. If Laura is hitting, what are you doing to them, Laura? One overclock is all Brig CS needed with that amplification matrix, and a point is now theirs.
To me, that was a little bit of an overcommitment. I feel like you had that team fight win as soon as you popped the overclock and the sound barrier. You probably wanted to hold on to the amplification matrix because you're going to have to, get 99%. That was just a ridiculous first point home for Aimless Esports, and they held their Graviton Surge, and they're going to have a tactical visor. This is dangerous territory for Brig CS as Aimless is looking to push back in.
And pushing back in they are already. That bubble is up, and Saber is at 85%. Now they're using the Graviton Surge, chewing and eating and destroying everything in their wake. But Brig CS is surviving through it now with a Graviton of their own. Needs to try and survive their way through the tactical visor. Bamboozle got hit with a bit of a deflect, but the determination factor from this Soldier 76 is going to see Aimless Esports through this second point.
Oh, that was very close for Brig CS being able to hold that, but the damage that Aimless Esports has between this Reaper and this Soldier 76 is just giving them that much more of the edge against this Genji Sojourn composition. As now we head over to Temple next. Again, because it's right next door, Aimless is just like, all right, we'll scoot right over and take a great defensive position on this point. So Brig CS at the disadvantage once again.
They need to keep an eye on Ari. Chaos will be caused if they can get this Death Blossom off. Recognize, identify, and stop Ari. Still gonna try and find it out, and of course you get this Reaper, that extra bit of a pressure from that bubble. The Death Blossom becomes even more scary. But what's horrifying for Briggs is that they've lost Lure, and now here it is. The Death Blossom has bloomed, and it is smelling deadly. Gonna continue to fight it out here. Kinku goes down to the ground, and Aimless Esports looking to close out Suravasa.
You are going to have to deal with that blade once again, but they have the perfect counter. We saw last time with a blade with no nano, the sound barrier can just completely nullify it. Laura, however, is going to have an overclock. I mean, they're going to have 4. So, again, my big issue with Brig CS, they got to win this point back, but they can't just throw all their ultimates. They have to be able to hold.
Ultimate management. Brig CS, we want to see if that's going to happen. It might be a little difficult now. Cav is going to try and survive through with the overclock. And this is genius because Maze is now going to be able to go in using this blade, gets rid of the immortality field, sees Anthemus going up to the high ground, has done their job, and is getting the heck out of there. But like you said, Ray, every single ultimate they had was used.
That's the big mistake that we keep seeing from Briggs CS. So now Aimless Esports gets to come back. They have that Graviton Surge, and they have that Tactical Visor once again. The only good thing they have is Mint has been able to build up to a Graviton Surge of their own, and Aimless had to use a sound barrier in that fight. So they're gonna have to take full advantage of this incoming Graviton Surge, or they're going to be looking at defeat by the hands of Aimless.
And Aimless, of course, looking to hand that to them on a silver platter. Right off the rip, in comes the Graviton Surge, answering back with one of their own time and time again. This is what we needed to see from Brig's Ray. Signs of life, a way to breathe through this, and they have done it, holding on here.
There we go. That's what we needed to see. I do think the Graviton Surge from Aimless wasn't in a great spot, and because of that, Bamboozle wasn't able to take full advantage. But Anthemus also held on to that Immortality Field until the last possible second. However, we're going to have a Tactical Visor online and an Amplification Matrix. That's so much damage on the field, and Briggs has no ultimates to work with because of them having to ult dump, but they're not even going, they're just going to live to fight another day, and it's all coming down to Palace.
Aimless Esports knew exactly where they were going to go. There's no RNG when the final point has been activated, right? So you just go there real quick, set yourselves up, and make it so difficult for Brig CS to be able to fight through it.
Yeah, because you put yourself in a good position to be able to combo this Amplification Matrix Tactical Visor combination, and you're getting close to a Death Blossom, so they're able to get in the positions they need to be able to take full advantage of these ultimates.
Well, we wouldn't have it any other way in this grand finals, Ray. A Suravasa map that's going the full distance on Flashpoint. It has been open, and now we're seeing the Tactical Visor being expended, already finding their first target. Make that two. Maze and Proximus out of here. The rest of Brig CS trying to survive to fight another day. Needs to get out of there. And Aimless Esports in control of this final Flashpoint.
And they didn't need no stinking Amplification Matrix, which makes their defensive hold here that much more easier. Brig CS finally coming up on some ultimates of their own, but it's going to be tough. You're going to have to be looking out for Ari, who's going to be hiding, looking for that perfect opportunity to use the Death Blossom. So Mint's got to be judicious with these bubbles.
We're going to see if judiciousness is going to be a factor here. The Amplification Matrix to scare away Maze. Ari, another Shadow Step, maybe being able to find something here, but they got to be very careful with this Death Blossom. They don't want to get pooped out, and they need that bubble if they really want to be able to survive through it. And there we have it, right off the rip. But Maze, the one to fall from it, that might just be enough, especially when you consider that Maze had that Dragon Blade. Oh my goodness. For an overclock, a dream and a hope in their pocket is going to tear right through Aimless Esports. But Aimless Esports is not done. They're not out of here until the final bell has been rung, and it is ringing for Aimless Esports. A last-ditch effort from me, but caught inside of that Graviton. That is Aimless Esports now on Series Point.
And being able to win Brig CS's map pick has got to be feeling incredibly good if you're Aimless Esports. They have found magic in the Zarya-based composition, the Zarya Reaper. So, I mean, Ari and Saber together have just been magic. And again, I think this Genji, once they decided to swap over to this Zarya, it just wasn't it. You couldn't find the value with those blades. You always had a sound barrier or an immortality field to deal with, and then Genji just doesn't do much for you in the favor of the mid fight, being able to try and help get on this soldier or this Reaper. You're just not getting much done. So I feel like a swap should have been made there, but maybe that's what Maze's role is to play that Genji. Are they going to make any kind of swaps heading into what could be the final map? I guess we're going to find out soon.
Yeah, I guess we will. And of course, that final game mode is going to be pushed. What could be in the pocket here for Brig CS? Where do they feel comfortable with going on to, right? We've seen a lot of Orisa play from them. We've seen a lot of Zarya. So you think about where they might want to go, right? Maybe New Green Street, maybe Esperanza, one of those two. But there's also Coliseo. There's a lot of different, basically the push maps are all available to them in where exactly they want to go. But if I were feeling them, I would be imagining maybe Coliseo would be to their benefit, especially in this sort of Zarya brawly meta that we've been having going on.
That's the big question, is because Zarya seems to have found its footing. I mean, we are going to Coliseo, but Coliseo is probably going to be the best opportunity to play the Orisa-based composition that you've done so well on for Brig CS. But I do think because of the long corridors, this Zarya composition can succeed very well. I just flash back to many a time of the Dallas Fuel last season playing that Zarya on Colosseo and just absolutely ripping through teams. And I think Aimless Esports has a chance to do that once again. But backs against the wall for Brig's CS as we have that match point for Aimless Esports and a match point on the line for these two teams to give themselves that better positioning for the overall playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look here at the map pool and just at the scores between these two teams, right? Brig CS, such a convincing victory on Ilios, but Aimless Esports, and even bringing that into King's Row a little bit, right? That very first point A defense, it was almost perfect, but the perfection just wasn't there for Brig CS and Aimless Esports. It was like a dance, and they were able to skirt around it just long enough to bring momentum back in for themselves, and then a headbutt between these two teams when it came to Survasa King's Row now has brought Aimless Esports to this series point, this potential final map. And like we've been saying, Brig CS needs to dig deep. They need to find whatever they've had on Ilios, bring that forth once more here on Colosseo. Otherwise, this is it for the grand finals.
Could not agree more as we get a nice little snapshot of the little town that is hidden behind this map in Colosseo and a nice overview of the actual Colosseum that this map is built around. Again, excuse me. When it comes to push, these teams' situational awareness, especially on Colosseo specifically, being able to know when it's smart to just abandon the bot, take the fight in the middle choke, where you could be very, very favorable, especially for a Zarya-based composition, and being able to just, put yourself in a more favorable position, because once you push around the corner and the defending team has that high ground, it's a lot tougher for you to push through, especially with that Zarya composition.
Okay, Brig CS, an interesting comp coming out from them. Aimless Esports still going to have that Lucio and a very similar composition what we saw out of Survasa, but Bamboozle on Sojourn this time around. However, Brig CS, big difference, big change here, especially in our DPS. Maze on the Sojourn, Torah on Torb.
I mean, I don't hate it, but I mean, you're going to have to use a lot of that upfront damage to try and either melt this Zarya quickly or try and force this Reaper back a lot faster. They're going to have the ability with more pick potential because of the Alari on the field.
Yeah, and look at that. Ari had to get out of there. They found a lot of that pressure from Brig CS. Aimless Esports is going to get the bot for themselves, but in the way that they're pushing forward, meant an unreal javelin. Snipe Bamboozle to the wall, and Brig CS had to follow through to get the elimination on them. Now Aimless Esports without Bamboozle are starting to have their heyday once again, Ray.
As Maze is starting to show up like, hey, listen, I know Laura's been doing a great job on the Sojourn, but I can play one just as well. As, again, very well done. That was a lot of great patience from Brig CS. Back up, allow your DPS and your Alari to take the angles, and then you're going to win this team fight. As Aimless Esports is now going to have to regroup. I mean, Saber's done a great job so far, and they're coming close to this amp matrix, but it's all going to be about being able to push forward and take the space away from Briggs.
Yeah, how difficult is that going to be for Aimless Esports and finding this Bamboozle, of course, on the high ground? Maybe being able to find a head, but Brig CS is proving to be very difficult, and even just building up to a railgun shot right now. Fully charged, ready to go, maybe to grab someone here, but Mint is going to back away. They built up to that Terror Surge. They need to really start putting the pedal to the metal with that Amplification Matrix online. A quick Javelin spin to secure their exit.
And it's just very smart play coming from Brig CS to back up as this is now the Captive Sun comes out with a combination of the Terror Surge.
My word! The old combination of dreams here, Ray. Sending Aimless Esports away in record time, it felt like.
I think that's probably my favorite new ult combination that's come out of this meta, is being able to do the Captive Sun with the Terror Surge. We used to think of how, little value you get out of Terror Surge. Now you use it to make the Captive Sun that much more powerful.
Yeah, and now we're seeing Ari abandoning the idea of making Reaper work, seeing if they can find some utility out of Echo. A Molten Core with the Amplification Matrix combo. Saber's going to grab them inside of the Graviton. Bamboozle's going to yield. Right, a clapback overclock from Maze is going to bamboozle out of there. Saber trying to rotate, caught inside of the Disruptor Shot, still taking massive amounts of damage, and that's going to force Maze to go back to Proximus and Kenku, but Mint by themselves is just going to be cut down by Ari's beam.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that was the best communication coming from Brig CS. They were all looking to back up, but they all went in separate directions, and because of that, they got isolated and picked off. Aimless Esports now gets to come back. They're going to have this duplicate and this sound barrier online, as Brig CS used a lot of ultimates to get a lot of that push already.
It's a lot of push that Aimless Esports need to be able to start to meet themselves. Mint down on the ground. And now we're going to see a duplicate. Ari is going to probably be ripped out of it shortly. No, still going to be able to get through it thanks to a timely bubble on top of an immortality field. And they're just trying to push back as much as they can and create this space for Aimless Esports to get the lead. Now Cav clapping back with a sound barrier, but we're going to see the sun be unleashed onto the field. It's not going to get too much because the sound barrier is up, and we're seeing Mint in dire straits once more. Maze is able to get that back out, and Mint, a quick javelin spin to send Anthemus down into the ground. Mint may have fallen, but Aimless Esports going back and forth between Brig CS and a Graviton Surge commitment from Saber. It's not going to find anything, not when Maze is landing railgun shots like that.
As they're trying to find this late pick onto Bamboozle, but because of that ability to just run away on the soldier, it was just very well played by Aimless Esports. But committing that Graviton Surge into the fight was devastating, especially since you weren't able to take the lead. And now, because you use so many ultimates, Briggs gets to come back 4 ultimates to use, but they've lost their Alari.
Lost their Alari right off of the Rip Ray, and Bamboozle looking to continue to make that even more. Look down at the ground real quick, make sure no one's there. Maze so dangerously low, but does get out. Brig CS, however, can smile in this re-attempt to take the bot back with the 4 ultimates they have. Mint, though, has to not die. That is the one goal of theirs, but they just weren't able to accomplish it. And Saber proving us to more again why this Zarya is a fearful tank.
Oh, they found the pick onto the Echo. However, they're able to keep alive the Sojourn, so you're going to have the ability to come back here and stop them from getting this checkpoint, which is so important on a map like Colosseo.
So close to the forward point, but not able to get it, not with Lure. And this Molten Core, Cav skates burned right off their feet. Bamboozle is going to try and use his tactical visor, and it may actually work out here for them. If Saber, especially, but going down to the ground, Maze is not going to let Bamboozle get away with too much more here. Now Saber isolated from the rest of the team, should fall shortly soon.
Yeah, now he's got to find this pick onto the Zarya. Now they're going to be able to get back. Unfortunately, you have Laura now going over to the Bastion. You will have 4 ultimates. And again, I'm thinking about that Terra Surge, Captive Sun combination. Again, the one thing you got to do before you execute on this play, Sam, is make sure you get those bubbles out of Saber, because they can cleanse that Captive Sun away.
Then that's going to be so difficult, right? That's going to be so frustrating for Kenku, especially if they can't get that taken care of, if they can't get the bubbles out of Saber. And Ari has the duplication. They're going to try and build up. They're going to try and pick their target. And of course, that is going to be the Arisa. Here comes the Terra Surge, but javelined away by Ari. Kenku's Captive Sun has been destroyed. Still, though, it looks like Brig CS doesn't need the sun. They're still able to do it without the power of solar on their side. Aimless Esports are going to fall once more, and Brig CS is going to be able to start pushing for themselves to meet this 62.48.
And finally, Briggs had some leash on them when it came to those ultimates. They didn't commit all 4. Maze is going to have this overclock. Proximus is going to have this amplification matrix. Aimless is going to get one more attempt to stop them.
Right at the barrier here, Cav is going to give the sound barrier. Now we're going to see the competing sound matrices. It's a back and forth pick, but Kenku going down. Anthemus is going to follow now inside of the artillery strike. Lure is going to start blasting away, but Saber is going to go right into the back line and see maybe if they can do enough damage, but no, Lure is not going to let that happen. Brig CS is going to take the lead, and the forward spawns.
And that is so important going forward, because now you're always going to have to win at least least 2 fights to get any progress from now on if you are Aimless Esports. And Maze still has this overclock, Sam. If they can win another team fight, I might just be calling it at this point. The discrepancy of distance will just be too much.
It's going to be so hard for Aimless Esports to get this back in for themselves, and now seeing that Brig CS is just going to go ahead and get this up, they're wanting to fight this out in a place where Maze can use his overclock ray.
Yeah, and that's a very smart decision. I talked about it before, was knowing when to back out and take a better positioned fight.
Just waiting for that moment. They see the opportunity. Bamboozle going down. Now it's time to get the rest of them. Get that overclock. Get that immortality field out of here. Get Anthemis out of here. Already out of here. One after another. Brig CS back in charge of this bot.
Aimless, however, is looming so close to 3 powerful ultimates, especially this Graviton Surge coming online for Saber. But as I mentioned, we're coming up on 1.5 minutes on the clock. It might just be too little, too late.
Aimless Esports going down one after another. Really no ultimates except for the Bamboozle Bastion Artillery Special. And it's going to be used. Try and draw Brig CS out of there. The immortality field is gone, but Proximus is not. Proximus is alive, and Proximus is screaming bloody murder.
And that is a clean team fight win for Brig CS. This is going to net them so much distance, and the hill that Aimless is going to have to climb is just getting steeper and steeper and steeper. But they're going to have a Graviton Surge. This should give them the ability to win at least this next team fight, Sam.
The Graviton Surge is going to be a lot of pressure riding on Saber. If there's anyone who can match that pressure, it is going to be them. But Brig CS seeing this as an opportunity, right, to just draw out more time.
As again, Brig CS are just being incredibly smart. Where can they take best advantage of this amplification matrix? In the neutral, and they just back up and put themselves in position to do this once again, as Aimless has to find a way to break through.
And not only that, there's so much room for Laura to work with in their artillery strike, but a Graviton has been used and nothing is going to be gained from it. Oh, it's just free for Laura. That amplification matrix is so powerful, so deadly when a Bastion is shooting through it. And now it's just time to run through the rest of Aimless Esports. Ray, we're looking at a 2-2 grand finals. Brig CS taking Coliseum.
We could not ask for more. Brig CS brings us to Coliseum, and they take the dub. That's the thing about when it comes to Flashpoint, Sam. There just hasn't been a lot, in my opinion, there hasn't been enough time, especially in like a tournament like CGL, for teams to get practiced enough. If you're Overwatch League, all you do is scrim and practice these maps. So I can understand why teams are good at certain maps. So you only have a pick between New Junk City and Saravasa, so you could be equally good at those map picks for teams. But when you come to Push, where they've had plenty of time to work and practice these maps, Coliseum, they're able to dominate and send us to a map 5. And now it all comes down to Escort, Sam. And I can't wait to see this, because we've yet to see any of these teams play a sort of dive composition, and that tends to be what is king on Escort. But once again, folks, grab the drinks, grab the snacks. You're going to want to see the conclusion of this series right after this.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
It's grand finals, and so of course a grand finals needs to go the full distance. Briggs CS and Aimless Esports now sitting both 2-2, and so we go to our final map, our final game mode of Escort Ray, and it is all on the line here. Both of these teams really showing up and showing out on what they're capable of, right? We look at Briggs CS taking that first map solidly, then Aimless Esports showing what they're capable of in the next two, and then a comeback from Brig CS, but it all ends here.
Will Briggs CS be able to build on the momentum that they just built on Colosseo, or will Aimless Esports map pick bring them that match point victory? Only time will tell, but we do have that map pick coming in from Aimless Esports, and we're going to Junkertown.
Junkertown is an interesting choice here, Ray, right? You think about what Aimless Esports has been showing us, and what is it? It's Zarya. Zarya has been their go-to tank choice almost every single time, this composition that they really like to work with. And what's a really good map for Zarya? Well, Junkertown is one of those good escort maps. An interesting choice to say the least here, but I think if Aimless Esports looking to make the Zarya composition work, especially with the Reaper, then Junkertown is a solid choice.
I think especially for first point, the Zarya is going to be a solid choice, but second point is going to be a little bit tougher, especially with the amount of high ground control that a defending team can take, and it's going to be tough for a Zarya to be able to take that away. But there's always pathing you can take. It's just going to take that much more time to be able to do that. But as we mentioned before the break, neither of these teams have showed any kind of ability so far to place a sort of dive, like whether it's Winston or Diva or Doomfist or Wrecking Ball, which tends to be really good on these Junkertown maps. Are we going to see either of these teams pull that out? Time is going to tell, as we are just about to get you guys into Junkertown.
It's almost there. The scintillating taste of victory for one of these teams. And of course, the bitterness of defeat. Brig CS and Aimless Esports taking us all of the way. 2-2. It all ends here on Junkertown. Which one is going to be able to reign supreme? Ray, we're going to find out, especially with our hero choice.
As we're going to look at the defending team first, and you know, silly me, I forget on escort map Sigma is also extremely viable, so we're going to be seeing a lot of poke coming from these teams. On this defense for Briggs CS, Lore going back to that Widow, hoping to continue the performance they had back on Ruins. Can they do that once again? Aimless Esports looking to do the same thing, except Ari's going to be on that Hanzo. So for the Hanzo versus the Sojourn, you're going to have a much higher pick potential coming out of the Hanzo, but the Sojourn's going to be able to throw out a lot more damage and has that ability with the disruptor field to disrupt any kind of push Aimless tries to make.
What is this disgusting angle from Lore all the way in the back of this point? And they're going to push forward a little bit more and still trying to take some heads here, being damage boosted by the Mercy, but needing to get a little bit closer because Bamboozle on this Widowmaker also very scary as well. But we're seeing Ari getting the damage boost here, however, and it's already coming up big time.
Again, finding that pick potential, forcing the res out for Brig CS, so they no longer have that in this fight, as Aimless still has that tool to be able to push in with that, as that was dangerously close, Sam.
That was a really good shield, and Bamboozle, they couldn't get the headshot from onto Maze. They're gonna get one from Lore, who's been able to set themselves up in this back line once more and did so much damage onto Mint. It's good enough to execute, kill them out here, and Maze getting their revenge on Ari.
Again, it was Lore opening up with the pick once again, and then Maze is able to find the clean. These DPS for Briggs are continuing to show up in style, but it all came from the ability for Kenku to find that res. If you're Aimless Esports and you're finding these picks, you gotta find a way to defend the res and not let that happen.
No, and indeed so. It seems like, for the moment, Maze's choice of Sojourn is the correct one. Aimless Esports still finding difficulty in this poke battle, not getting any heads where we've seen Brig CS find so much success, and Saber is already out of here. They're just not able to get through. It's a relentless amount of damage.
Mint already showing that they are very, very good at this. Sigma Ari's able to find a pick on a Maze, but you trade out, and again, you're just continuing to lose players, and the res comes in for Brig CS, so they have a full 5. They've already taken half the time off the clock, and now Aimless has to swap over to a dive composition. They're completely swapping up, trying to get on top of these DPS that are just reigning supreme in the server.
They need to find a way back into this, and dive is one way to get right on top of it. But already, look at what is happening to Saber! Hit with the accretion rock, pushed down onto the ground, and pushed away. Oh my gosh, Lore. Oh my gosh.
Again, you're gonna have to sync up, but I think the thing is, Winston just can't be rushing onto a Sigma like that. You have to be looking for this Widow or for this Sojourn. If you're going after the Sig, you're just asking for disaster, and that's exactly what happened. Now you're gonna come in, Maze has an overclock, just the ultimate disparage for Brig CS because Aimless had to swap compositions is insane. We have only a minute left on the clock.
They gotta build up to it. They gotta build up to it real fast. And Saber hit again with his accretion rock. Bubble almost gone as well. A lot of options being taken away from them, and even more so with Lore. Lore's just not missing. Lore feels like they're locked in and ready to take this grand finals home, Ray.
I think they
find
the pick on the Cav. Lore is absolutely wrecking damage onto the backline of Aimless. This is just disgusting, Sam. What a performance from Lore throughout the series on the Widowmaker as we enter final fight territory with under 30 seconds left.
And it's one thing to be like, okay, Widowmaker's hitting the body shots and getting the final blows that way, right? They're so low in health. Ari was basically dead. A body shot would have killed them. But Lore is continuing to add insult to injury. These are headshots, Ray. They're not body shots. They're headshots. Over and over again, and now the final 10 seconds here for Aimless Esports. It is do whatever you can with this nano boost. Give it up. They need to build up to this nano blade, but Brig CS can end it out here, especially with that Gravitic Flux up in the air. Saber already taken away, but the Nano Blade has been popped right on top of it. Proximus out of here, but the rest of Aimless Esports is soon to follow. Mint as strong as ever. Saber able to pop the Primal Rage, is going to get the kill onto Kinku, but Laurer is alive, Laurer is standing, and Laurer is killing Brig CS. This is a dominating way to show this final map of Junkertown.
What a defense from Briggs CSM. You know what this was reminding me of? Briggs was just previously in a 5-mapper last round. Briggs has been there. They have done that. They know what it's like to have their backs against the wall and to come through big time. And they are showing that once again against Aimless Esports, as they only have to get 71.5 meters to get themselves that match point and just the advantage to have better seeding heading into the overall playoffs.
Yeah, and it's not even having to take it all of the way, right? They just need to go that 71.5 meters. And it's basically just around the bend of the final building. That's all you have to do if you are Briggs CS. But Aimless Esports, this is a composition we haven't seen since King's Row, Ray. We have the Reinhardt with the May Reaper. It's an interesting choice here for their final defense.
I mean, I think because of the small amount of distance that Brig CS has to go, being able to just try and spawn hold and take as much time off this clock as possible is going to be the way to go for Aimless Esports. They don't want to get into another poke battle because they've already shown that Brig CS is just going to win that head-to-head battle in the poke.
And Aimless Esports is going to try and bamboozle them out. Laurer wanted to go for the head, but the shield came up from Saber just in the nick of time to save the day. Walls are coming up, and Brig CS is just going to fight it out inside of the spawn. This is Aimless Esports trying to meet them here, but Brig CS is not going to fall into that trap just yet. Saber hit with the anti-nade. Laurer, a quick adaptation here, deciding that the Widowmaker is not going to get much use out of it. Just be a Pharah, just go up in the air and just start blasting away on top of them. Already getting at least the immortality field out, but Mint finding great success. No more May. That means Laurer is going to start getting away with murder. Aimless Esports weren't able to get the hold Ray that they were looking for.
Yeah, and my question is, are Aimless going to look to continue to play this composition, or with this was a one fight, try and hold them? Yeah, they're going to swap. Saber's going to go over to the D.Va, and this is allowing Brig CS to now swap over to their mower poke style composition. So it's all going to be on Saber and Ari trying to go after these hit scans, but that's going to be easier said than done because you got 2 hit scans looking for your head if you're Ari.
2 minutes and 50 seconds. Brig CS has all of the time in the world, it feels like, to get this payload to where it needs to go. Laurer looking to take on Ari in the air. The bridge is going to save them for just a second more, and back down onto the ground they go, not wanting to contend with this Widowmaker that has been biting their way through it all. But Bamboozle has fallen inside of the building by themselves, alone and scared. They're going to try and take on Laurer. They may have fallen, but Saber needs to get back, needs to get the healing up in the air. Cav couldn't get away. Down back they go onto the ground, the immortality field to save them out. But Maze is still standing. Maze is still fighting. And Kinku is going to revive Laurer. But the overclock is putting in the overtime for Brig CS. Aimless Esports has nothing left in the tank. And we're looking at Briggs CS taking home these grand finals 3-2. And Ray, what a way to show it here on Junkertown.
I mentioned that Brig CS they're like iron that's been forged for a very long time. They were down 2-1 and were able to find the goods to win back-to-back maps as they bring it home on Escort in a 5-map banger once again. Brig CS has the clutch factor when it comes to these 5-mappers, and they're just showing how skilled and impressive their team is overall, and they do not wilter under that pressure.
No, they don't. Instead, they just seem to continue to thrive under it, Ray. It seems to be like their home turf. If you give them a little bit of pushback, they will push back even harder time and time again. So a big congratulations, of course, to Brig CS. in winning out this grand finals 3-2. It was a amazing showing, however, from Aimless Esports as well, and what they were able to do and how they were able to bring things back, especially when you look at Kings Row and then into Suravasa. Neither of these teams, it seemed like, really had the edge over each other until Brig CS showed us what they can do on Junkertown.
It just came down to the last map was Escort. It came down to being able to play poke, and Brig CS just showed that they are so comfortable. And that composition and lore on that Widow with Maze on that Sojourn was just a beauty to be seen. As we get ready to wrap things up for the night, we got plenty of grand finals action coming for you guys tomorrow. Me and Sam will be back on the mic for an EU match between AFMT and Smelvin Industries. And then later that night, we'll have 2 NA grand finals coming out for you, which will be Red Team versus Strawberry and Utopia Shangri-La versus, Shadow Monarchs versus Lijiang Legion. So a lot of CGL Overwatch to look forward to.
I think we're all very excited for it, Ray. I think we're all very ready to jump into it. But of course, that is all going to be happening tomorrow. So make sure you hit the follow button to get notifications when we go live. And of course, we will see you the next time we go live.